Chosen one. Listen carefully. Heaven has paused everything around you for this divine moment. This is not the algorithm. This is not coincidence. This is divine intervention. You are not like the rest. You were never designed to blend in, and deep inside, you've always known it. You've been walking through this world wondering why nothing seems to fit, why you can't laugh at what others laugh at, why your spirit grows heavy around darkness, why you sense things others overlook. That's not strangeness. That's spiritual sensitivity. That's divine DNA awakening in you. You are God's chosen one. And this message is the confirmation your soul has been crying out for. There is power resting on your life. Power you didn't earn, but were born with. You were marked before birth. You were set apart before the foundations of the world. God looked through time, saw your face, and said, "That one, yes, that one will carry my reflection." You don't just believe in Jesus, you reflect him. You walk with his imprint etched into your being. You're not weak. You're not forgotten. You are carrying something eternal. You carry a portion of heaven's glory on earth. That is why your battles have been intense. That is why the pressure has been unbearable at times. Because what you carry is holy. And what you reflect is a threat to hell. Scripture says in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." That light, that unquenchable, unstoppable light, it's in you. Your smile disrupts demonic patterns. Your silence is not weakness, it's warfare. Every rejection, every moment of loneliness, it was God's way of protecting what he planted in you. You were never meant to be diluted by the crowd. You are a mirror of his majesty, and the enemy knows it. They didn't hate you. They hated what was on you. You carry too much light to fit in with those comfortable in darkness. Too much truth to laugh along with lies. Because of that, hell marked you, not to destroy you, but to distract you. Because if you ever fully realize what you carry, if you ever truly understand who you are, you become unstoppable. You weren't just saved, you were empowered. When Jesus ascended, he didn't leave you empty. He deposited power, not borrowed power, not temporary power. His power. You reflect him because he resides within you. This isn't just encouragement, it's awakening. Chains are falling off your mind. The fog is lifting. You're starting to remember. That's why your spirit is trembling. Because something in you is saying, "Yes, this is who I am." Now, there were nights you thought you wouldn't make it. Moments you questioned your worth, your future, your sanity. But you're still standing, still breathing, still reaching for truth. That's proof God's hand never left you. You are not here by chance, you are here by design. And now, this is your wake-up call. Not to strive more, but to surrender. To finally say, "I accept who I really am." You're not who the world labeled you. You are who heaven says you are, and heaven calls you chosen. You don't need to wait for a special sign. This is the sign. You are a living sign and wonder, clothed in human skin, but wrapped in divine fire. Your existence alone is proof of God's faithfulness. From now on, you'll begin to see differently. You'll walk into rooms knowing atmospheres respond to you. You'll pray knowing angels move at your voice. You'll rise each day knowing that your reflection isn't just physical, it's spiritual. When darkness sees your face, it trembles. This is why the attacks came early. Why you were hit hard before you even knew why. Because the enemy tried to break the mirror before it realized it could reflect the sun. But now the mirror awakens. Now the reflection is being restored. And when people look at you, they will see him. Not because you're perfect, but because you're surrendered. You are his. Type 111 in the comments if your spirit says, "This word is for me." That number is a prophetic declaration. I reflect. 1. I follow. 1. I belong to 1. And before you go, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like this video and share it with someone who carries light but needs to remember their fire. Because the world needs to see him, and they'll see him through you. You were born different, not by mistake, not by accident, from your very first breath. The fingerprint of heaven marked you as separate. There's a reason you've never fully blended in. There's a reason you always felt out of place, like you were meant for something that couldn't be explained, only revealed. You weren't called to blend in. You were born set apart. Others could compromise and feel nothing. You tried, and conviction gripped you. Others could walk away from God and seem fine. You tried to do the same. But the weight on your spirit wouldn't let you. That's because you were never like them. You carry a different assignment, a different spirit. You were woven with purpose in the hidden places of the womb. And your very existence became a threat the moment you opened your eyes. Even as a child, you noticed things others didn't. You could feel tension in rooms. You heard what wasn't said. You sensed things people tried to hide. That was spiritual sensitivity, not imagination. The gifts in you were already awake, long before you had the language to explain them. You didn't fit in with certain crowds, not because you weren't lovable, but because your spirit irritated what was dormant or dead in others. There were times you tried to mute yourself, to shrink back, to be quieter, smaller, less intense. But even in hiding, your light gave you away. This world taught you that different was dangerous, that quiet meant weak, that broken meant useless. But the truth is, your difference is evidence of your design. God never meant for you to conform. He formed you for impact, for spiritual disruption, for heavenly alignment. You are not just in the world, you are assigned to it. That heaviness you've felt for years, that's not depression, it's weight. The weight of glory, the responsibility of being a carrier of His image. The resistance you faced wasn't because you were going the wrong way, it was because you were headed toward destiny. Chosen people often walk through crushing seasons, not because God abandoned them, but because He's extracting oil from their lives. You're not empty, you're being pressed. We find in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 4, "For He chose us in Him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in His sight." So when fear comes, when confusion surrounds you, remember, you were chosen before creation. The unease is not punishment, it's misalignment. When you step back into the identity He gave you, peace returns. Not the peace of comfort, but the peace of clarity. You've looked at others and thought, why can they live that way and feel no conviction? The answer is simple. They weren't assigned what you were. You're not better than them, but your call is different. Your grace is weightier. Your light is brighter. And that difference demands separation. Some of the doors that closed in your face were actually acts of mercy. Some of the people who left were heaven's way of removing distractions. You didn't lose them, you were delivered. Not everything that walks away is rejection. Some exits are instructions. You've been labeled sensitive, emotional, even dramatic. But in truth, you're spiritually aware. You've been carrying burdens in your heart that weren't even yours. You've interceded for people without even realizing it. You've mourned for souls you've never met. Because you're not just a human being, you're a spiritual vessel. You were born set apart. That's why shallow things don't satisfy you. That's why you hunger for depth, truth, and presence. That's why you feel spiritually homesick, even when surrounded by people. Your spirit is reaching for the place it came from. You're not just seeking clarity, you're seeking home. All your life, you've been carrying pieces of eternity in your spirit. That's why the darkness around you tried so hard to put your light out. But it couldn't. You're still here. That's not luck. That's divine preservation. God didn't just create you, He chose you. You're not just made in His image. You're assigned to reflect Him on the earth. That's not a poetic idea. It's a calling, a mandate. And now is the time for you to step into that truth without fear. Yes, it will cost you. Yes, it will set you apart even more. But the cost is nothing compared to the glory that will be revealed in you. The tension you feel isn't resistance from God, it's the stretching before the breakthrough. The deep calls in your spirit aren't imagination, they're invitation. So walk boldly in the knowing that you are different by design. You were born to reflect a power not of this world. And everything you've walked through was preparing you for what's ahead. You don't need to apologize for being chosen. You just need to accept it. There is a fire inside you. Not emotional hype. Not shallow passion. A real, living, holy fire. And it's not something you created. It was placed there by the one who called you. You are not walking around as a weak believer, hoping to survive. You carry the very essence of the one who overcame the grave. You are not ordinary. You are not powerless. You are not defenseless. You've been walking around like a survivor, but heaven sees a warrior. You've been questioning your identity, but all of hell already knows your name. That's why you've been fought so fiercely. That's why the enemy showed up early in your story. Because you were never meant to simply exist. You were created to carry fire. Not natural fire. Holy fire. Divine energy. A force that burns away darkness and brings warmth to every space it touches, even when you feel tired. Even when you feel overlooked. The fire doesn't go out. It may flicker. It may grow dim. But it is never extinguished. Why? Because it doesn't come from you. It comes from Him. There were moments when you thought you had nothing left. Times when your hands were shaking, your voice trembling, your heart barely holding on. But deep within, something kept you moving. That was the fire. That was the Spirit. That was the living power of Christ in you, refusing to be buried under the weight of life. It was never just about your survival. It's about your reflection. You reflect Jesus, not because of religious performance, but because He lives in you. His nature flows through you. His Spirit burns within you. The Book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 11, declares, "And if the Spirit of Him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, He who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies because of His Spirit who lives in you." Do you realize what that means? The exact same spirit that broke death is inside of you right now. Not a copy, not a fraction. The same. That's why you feel the shaking. That's why you've become uncomfortable with normal. That's why the old cycles no longer satisfy. Because resurrection power doesn't tolerate grave clothes. And you're still walking around wearing rags you were never meant to keep. You've been waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to let go. This is that moment. You are not weak for walking away from what drains you. You are wise. You are not heartless for cutting ties with things that dim your fire. You are holy. You are not selfish for choosing your calling over their comfort. You are chosen. You were born to reflect Him. And fire reflects fire. Light reflects light. When people look at you, they're not supposed to just see you. They're supposed to see Him roaring, alive, untamable within your frame. That's why silence burns you. That's why sin stings you. That's why mediocrity breaks your heart. Because there's a furnace in your chest. And heaven won't let it go quiet. You are not becoming strong. You already are. You just forgot. But the fire in you didn't forget. That's why your dreams wouldn't die. That's why the vision still wakes you up at night. That's why, even after the loss, even after the heartbreak, even after the delay, you still feel the pull. Because fire doesn't die easily, especially not holy fire. It doesn't matter what people say about you. It doesn't matter who walked away. It doesn't matter how many times you fell. The fire didn't stop burning. And as long as it's burning, God's not done. Don't underestimate the quiet seasons. Even when no one is watching, fire is working, refining you, stretching you, purging every false identity, breaking every lie that said you were too late, too broken, too far gone. That fire is producing something gold in you. It's why you cry when no one understands. It's why you intercede without knowing who it's for. It's why you worship even when everything hurts. So here's what I need you to do. Right now, type "flame stays lit" in the comments. Why? Because that's your truth. That's your identity. No matter what tried to smother your purpose, your flame remains. Even if your voice has been silenced, your fire hasn't. This is not a feeling, it's a spiritual fact. You are still burning, still chosen, and still dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. You don't carry weakness. You don't carry failure. You carry flame. You reflect Him because you were made from Him. That's not poetry, it's origin. The same way, a mirror must be shaped to reflect accurately. Your life has been shaped by fire, pressure, pruning, and waiting not to break you, but to prepare you to reveal Him without distortion. You were not just born of flesh. You carry His spirit, His imprint, His likeness. You are not a copy of culture. You are an echo of Christ. That's why no matter how far you strayed, something always pulled you back. That's why even when you tried to fit in with the world, you never could. You weren't built to imitate darkness. You were designed to reflect light. God didn't just rescue you. He restored you to your original image, one that mirrors heaven's glory. That reflection terrifies hell, not because you're trying to act holy, but because your very being radiates something unexplainable to this world. People look at you and see strength, but they don't know the secret. That strength isn't yours. It's borrowed glory. It's divine presence. It's evidence of the one inside you. You carry the nature of Christ, and it leaks through your compassion, your endurance, your prayers, your choices. When you speak, atmospheres bend. When you weep, angels are dispatched. When you stand, chains loosen around people you don't even know. That's what happens when you reflect Him. And it's not just your spirit. Even your suffering reflects Him. You were bruised, but you didn't curse. You were betrayed, but you forgave. You were mocked, but you stayed quiet. You bore the crushing, and something in you still reached for God. That is what reflection looks like, not perfection. But ressemblance. The world told you to shine in your own strength. Religion told you to fake it. But heaven says, reflect. There's a difference. Shining in your own effort will exhaust you. Reflecting His glory will transform you. When Moses came down from the mountain, his face was radiant, not because he tried to glow, but because he had been with God. That's you. That's your calling. That's your design. You don't have to perform to be accepted. You don't have to earn your glow. You are not striving to reflect. You're simply returning to what you were always meant to be. Sin tried to smudge the mirror. Trauma tried to shatter it. Rejection tried to cover it. But grace has been polishing your reflection again and again. Every trial was sanding away what was false. Every season was preparing the frame. And now, the mirror is becoming clear. There's a weight to carrying His image. You felt it. The internal pressure, the fear of misrepresenting Him, the fear of falling short. But He didn't call you because you were flawless. He called you because you were willing, because He knew that even in your weakness, His strength would shine brighter. He chose the foolish things to shame the wise, the broken things to carry glory. You are not disqualified. You are dangerous to the enemy's agenda. We find in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verse 18, and we all, who, with unveiled faces, contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into His image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. This is not about a moment, it's about a process. You are being transformed into His image, level by level, glory by glory. Your pain is part of the portrait. Your worship is the polish. Your obedience is the light that hits the surface. All of it reveals Him. That's why the enemy hates your progress. That's why he keeps attacking your mind. Because every step you take toward your calling is another inch of His image being made visible through you. And here's the mystery. The more you look at Him, the more you start to look like Him. The more you surrender, the clearer the image becomes. And the more you reflect Him, the less this world has a grip on you. You don't need to create your own version of glory. His is enough. Your job is not to shine from effort, but to stay facing the source. Stay in position. Stay yielded. Stay open. You were made to mirror the King. Let the world see Him when they see you through the way you love, through the way you endure, through the way you walk when no one is watching. Reflection is not passive, it's costly. It means surrendering pride. It means allowing your plans to be interrupted. It means letting go of versions of yourself that feel comfortable but are counterfeit. It means telling the truth when it's inconvenient. It means choosing forgiveness when revenge feels more satisfying. But with every surrender, the mirror gets clearer. And when the mirror becomes clear, the world won't just hear about Jesus, they'll see Him. Some people sensed your difference before you ever did. They didn't have the language for it, but they saw it. They saw the light in your eyes. the weight in your words, the unusual depth of your silence. Some were drawn to it. Others were irritated by it. And most didn't understand it, because they weren't meant to. What lives inside you isn't for entertainment. It's for eternity. You reflect him, and that reflection has consequences. It disturbs darkness. It draws questions. It exposes what's fake. That's why you've made some people uncomfortable, even without trying. That's why you've been left out, overlooked, or misunderstood. What they can't explain, they often reject. But don't mistake rejection for failure. Often, rejection is just recognition in disguise. What they pushed away was never about you. It was about the weight of glory on your life. The enemy saw it, too. That's why certain attacks didn't make sense. You weren't even doing anything wrong. And yet warfare came. Not because of what you did, but because of what you carry. That reflection you carry is not neutral. It's spiritual resistance. Hell doesn't react to religious routine. It reacts to reflection. And still, you endure. Still, you reflect. Still, you walk into rooms and shift things without saying a word. Because that's what happens when a vessel stays clean. Heaven starts to shine through. But here's the truth you need to face now. You've been dimming yourself not because the fire died, but because the people around you weren't ready for the flame. You've been shrinking not out of fear, but out of loyalty to those who couldn't handle your truth. And God is saying, no more. Section. This is the season where you walk in the fullness of what He placed inside you. Not to prove anything, not to be noticed, but because the world needs the reflection you carry. You don't need a pulpit. Your life is the message. You don't need a stage. Your walk is the ministry. Your reflection is what causes chains to fall. Not your eloquency, not your perfection, not your reputation, just your yielded, shining, surrenders, reflection. There's no telling how many people are watching you quietly, waiting to see if you'll give up, waiting to see if you'll break down, waiting to see if you'll still praise when it doesn't make sense. You're not just reflecting Christ for yourself. You're doing it for the silent watchers who have no strength left to fight. And yes, it's heavy. Yes, it's costly, but it's glorious. It was written in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. You're not shining to impress. You're shining to reveal the one who rescued you. You're not reflecting so you can be praised. You're reflecting so He can be seen. So, don't be afraid of the visibility God is bringing. He's not exposing you. He's displaying Himself through you. And He trusts you enough to bear the spotlight without stealing the glory. This is the time to go all in. No more halfway surrender. No more hiding the gifts. No more waiting for someone else to confirm what God already revealed. If you're here, listening to this, it's because heaven is calling you to step up, stand firm, and shine unapologetically. And if this word has reached your spirit, if something in you is waking up again, don't keep it to yourself. Like this message, share it with someone who needs to remember who they are. You never know whose fire will reignite just because you passed this on. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. Not because we need numbers, but because staying connected helps keep your spirit fed. You were never meant to walk this road alone. And if this word has poured life into you, if you felt the truth hit deep and want to sow into this message, consider giving as you're led. Every seed helps us continue reaching more chosen ones who are lost in the noise but waiting for the sound of heaven. You're not just a listener, you're a living witness of what God is doing in this hour. You're part of a remnant, an army of reflectors being raised in silence, prepared in obscurity, and released in fire. So, take this seriously. Don't scroll past this and forget. Reflect intentionally. Walk boldly. Love radically. Leave surrendered. And let your life keep echoing the image of the one who made you. Because someone's breakthrough might begin the moment they see him in you. You've been hidden for a reason. Not ignored. Not forgotten. Hidden. There's a difference. When the world ignores you, it's neglect. But when heaven hides you, it's preparation. A sacred covering. A divine delay. God didn't hide you to punish you. He hid you to protect what he was building inside you. You've looked around and wondered why others seem to be moving ahead, getting seen, getting promoted, getting platforms. And yet you've stayed quiet, anonymous, overlooked. But in the spiritual realm, you've been growing in silence, becoming dangerous, becoming pure, becoming ready. God has always worked through hidden ones. Moses was hidden in a basket. David was hidden in the fields. Esther was hidden in a palace before she was revealed as a deliverer. Even Jesus himself was hidden for 30 years before he stepped into public ministry. You are not behind. You are not late. You are in hiding by divine strategy. The silence around you isn't a void, it's a voice. God speaks loudest in stillness. The delay is not denial, it's design. While others are chasing visibility, you are being refined for victory. There's a glory rising in your hidden season that fame could never produce. Don't curse the quiet. It's shaping you. You've been praying and hearing nothing, obeying and seeing little, sowing and reaping silence. But God is not unjust. He has watched every private sacrifice, every silent tear, every moment you said yes when no one else saw it. You've been building history with God in secret, and what is birthed in the secret place will not stay there. The time is coming when the hiding will end, not because you chase exposure, but because God decides to reveal you. He doesn't reveal finished products. He reveals surrendered vessels. And you, chosen one, are almost ready. It is written in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 12, verse 3, "What you have said in the dark will be heard in the daylight, and what you have whispered in the ear in the inner rooms will be proclaimed from the roofs." Now, what you've whispered in worship, cried out in warfare, and carried in silence, He's about to echo it loudly, but not for your fame, for His glory. Your hidden season was never wasted. You learned to listen. You learned to stay when it hurt. You learned to obey when it didn't make sense. You learned to pray without applause, to fast without validation, to believe without signs. That kind of hidden faith terrifies hell. You were stripped not to shame you, but to strengthen you. God removed distractions so He could realign your identity. The crowd couldn't speak into you because their words would have confused your calling. That's why some voices were silenced. That's why the circle got smaller. Heaven was protecting the reflection He's forming in you. Now something is shifting. Quietly, powerfully, you feel it. The restlessness in your spirit, the urgency, the clarity. Something is rising from the ashes of your quiet place. And this is your prophetic instruction. Don't rush the reveal. Stay where he has you until he says, move. Stay low until he says, rise. Keep the oil flowing in private, so when the lamp is lifted, it never goes out in public. And when the time comes, you won't need to announce yourself. The fruit will speak. The fire will be seen. The reflection will carry its own authority. But for now, stay hidden. Stay rooted. Stay surrendered. And let the hidden work continue. If this message is for you, if it speaks to your quiet, unseen, deeply spiritual journey, then make a prophetic agreement right now. Comment the number 444 below. Not randomly, not religiously, but prophetically, because 444 is a number of alignment, preparation, and revelation. It means God is building in silence. M. It means I am in hiding, but I'm not forgotten. M. It means the reveal will come in His time, not mine. M. When you type that number, you're not just engaging, you're agreeing with heaven's timing over your life. You're saying, I will not break the mirror early. I will wait until the reflection is ready. M. The world promotes fast, but God builds deep. And what He builds deep is to stand long, stay hidden, and let the fire grow. Because when God brings you out, no one will be able to deny what you carry. Doors will open that no man can shut. The same mouths that questioned your silence will one day marvel at your strength. What's coming won't just be seen, it will be felt. You've spent seasons feeling powerless, haven't you? Times when it seemed like your prayers hit the ceiling. Moments when your voice felt small, your strength worn thin, and your identity questioned by the weight of your own trials. And yet, through it all, one truth never changed. You were never powerless. The enemy wanted you to believe otherwise. He wanted you to measure your power by your feelings, your surroundings, or your results. But spiritual authority has never been based on appearances. It is rooted in who you are, and more importantly, whose you are. You've walked through storms that should have broken you, battles that should have drained you, attacks that came not just externally but within your own mind. The warfare wasn't always visible. Sometimes it looked like doubt, sometimes like anxiety, sometimes like self-sabotage. But through it all, something deeper held you. That something wasn't your grit. It was your God-given authority. He placed something in you long before you had the maturity to understand it. And even in your lowest moments, that authority never left. You may have questioned your purpose. You may have even questioned God. But heaven never questioned you. Your identity was sealed. Your name was known. Spiritual authority is not something you shout to prove. It's something you carry, even when silent. And you, chosen one, have been carrying more than you realized. That's why your atmosphere feels the way it does. That's why the spiritual temperature shifts when you enter a place. That's why certain people feel exposed around you without you saying a word. Your presence speaks. Your spirit testifies. Even your silence confronts what is false. Because real power doesn't need volume. It needs surrender. You were not created to chase signs. You were created to walk in them. Jesus said that these signs would follow those who believe. Not might, not occasionally, but will. The book of Mark, chapter 16, verse 17, declares, And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name they will drive out demons. They will speak in new tongues. That's not for the elite. That's not for the famous. That's for you. That's your inheritance. That's your normal. But somewhere along the way, the pain dimmed the truth. The delays confused your authority. The religious systems told you to sit quietly while others walked in boldness. And the enemy whispered that you weren't ready, weren't qualified, weren't enough. But here's what heaven says. You carry what the darkness fears most. Not charisma, not titles. Power. Power that doesn't bend when the pressure comes. Power that intercedes when others sleep. Power that breaks generational curses silently. Power that refuses to bow to fear. Even when fear is all around, that kind of power comes not from performance, but from intimacy with the source. You've been entrusted with something holy, and that's why the fire in your life has burned hotter than most. That's why compromise leaves such a bitter taste in your spirit. You can't pretend to be powerless anymore, because too many are depending on your obedience. There are rooms you've entered that shifted without your permission. That wasn't coincidence, it was assignment. You may not have seen the chains break, but they did. You may not have heard the demons scream, but they moved. Why? Because light never enters without leaving a mark. You are dangerous to the darkness, and the enemy knows it, but you must begin to know it. 2. This is not about pride. This is about stewardship. You've been given keys, weapons, authority, and this hour in history demands that you rise in it. No more asking permission to walk in what God already confirmed. No more waiting for external affirmation. No more playing small so others feel comfortable. Your authority is not a threat to others. It's a lifeline to those drowning. People are waiting for someone like you to realize the truth. You were never powerless. You were just in training. And now the veil is lifting. The weight you've carried wasn't just your own. It was intercession, inheritance, and legacy. What seemed like heaviness was actually evidence that heaven had entrusted you with territory. So rise, not in noise, but in knowing. Step into rooms like you belong there because, spiritually, you do. Pray like the heavens respond because they do. Worship like chains break because they do. Walk like every step is ordered because it is. You carry power, not because of how loud you are, but because of how yielded you are. And the more you yield, the more the atmosphere yields to you. Not all opposition comes to destroy you. Some of it comes to reveal you. The enemy doesn't waste resources on empty vessels. If you've been fought hard, consistently, and unfairly, it's because you're carrying something precious, something prophetic, something that threatens darkness. You don't attract warfare because you're weak. You attract warfare because you're marked. The attacks on your life, especially the ones that came early, weren't random. They were strategic. Hell saw your reflection before you even knew what you carried. The enemy saw glimpses of your identity while you were still trying to survive. He tried to plant lies in your childhood, wound your trust, sever your confidence, all before your gift could mature. But here's what the enemy didn't expect. You would still be here, still standing, still believing, still reaching for God, even after the betrayal, the abandonment, the silent nights and unanswered questions. The battle has been brutal, but your survival is prophetic. You don't realize it yet, but every dart thrown at you has actually confirmed who you are. You see, when the enemy can't kill what's inside you. He tries to convince you it doesn't exist. He launches identity warfare, not to steal your salvation, but to silence your authority. If he can keep you doubting who you are, he can keep you from ever stepping into what's already yours. But your enemies have been preaching a different sermon. Every time you're slandered, every time you're resisted, every time you're misunderstood, it echoes something deeper. You are marked. Because ordinary people don't get unusual resistance. You've been wondering, why me? The answer is simple: because you're dangerous. Because what you carry breaks patterns. Because your presence awakens conviction. Because the oil on your life doesn't play by the world's rules. And anything that doesn't bow to darkness automatically becomes a target. The Word of God declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 5, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows." Oh, that means your anointing doesn't avoid conflict. It often shows up right in the middle of it. God didn't anoint you in private to hide you from pressure. He anointed you to carry light into dark places. The oil wasn't meant to make you comfortable, it was meant to make you effective. Enemies are often God's confirmation that you're sitting at the right table. He prepares that table in their presence on purpose, not to humiliate them, but to show you that you don't need their approval to be elevated. Stop apologizing for the favor that attracted resistance. Stop watering down your fire so no one feels convicted. Stop hiding your gift because others feel insecure around it. You are not arrogant for walking in confidence. You are obedient. Your enemies are not obstacles, they are evidence. They validate what you carry. Think about it. The enemy sent Pharaoh when Moses was born, Jezebel when Elijah rose up, Herod when Jesus arrived. Whenever a deliverer shows up, resistance follows. That means your battle isn't just personal. It's generational, territorial, eternal. So instead of asking God to remove the opposition, start asking Him what it's confirming. Some of the loudest voices against you have been used by heaven to expose where you've been doubting your worth. Every attack has revealed a lie you believed. Every rejection has revealed a place where you needed deeper healing. And now, you're not just surviving those wounds, you're reflecting Jesus through them. That's the mystery of your story. God doesn't waste pain. He doesn't waste betrayal. He doesn't waste injustice. He takes the very things that were sent to break you and uses them as backdrops for His glory. The more they pressed you, the more oil flowed. The more they watched you fall, the more shocked they'll be when they see you rise. Because what they thought was your end was actually your unveiling. You were never meant to prove yourself to your enemies. The fruit will speak. The glow will speak. The authority in your voice will speak. When people see the consistency of your obedience, the depth of your wisdom, and the purity of your fire, they'll know. They may not like it, but they will know. And even if they never acknowledge it, heaven has already affirmed it. You are not the person they tried to label. You are not the wounds they caused. You are not the season they walked out on. You are the one God chose. Refined through opposition, revealed through resistance, and empowered by grace. Your enemies never had the final word. They were only allowed to watch the beginning. But God is writing the ending, and it will reflect Him. You don't just enter rooms, you shift them. There's something about you that changes the atmosphere. Even when you're silent, people feel your presence before you speak. They sense your authority before you explain it. They notice something different, even if they can't put it into words. That's not coincidence. That's calling. You carry the reflection of Jesus, and that reflection disrupts what is hidden. It awakens what is dormant. It unsettles what is false. Wherever you go, something spiritual begins to stir, not because of who you are in the natural, but because of who walks in with you. This has been happening for longer than you realize. You've walked into places and felt the tension rise. You've seen faces shift. You've watched conversations stop or eyes avoid yours. It's not in your imagination. It's discernment. You're not causing discomfort by personality. It's happening in the spirit realm. When light enters darkness, the darkness doesn't applaud. It reacts. You don't need to be loud to have impact. In fact, your greatest power often flows in stillness. People don't understand why they feel conviction when you show up. They don't know why their hidden motives start to surface. It's because the atmosphere around you is charged with a different frequency, the presence of the Holy Spirit. You've been asking God, why do I always feel tension? The answer is simple. Because your spirit irritates the silence of spiritual apathy. You walk in carrying clarity, and it exposes confusion. You speak truth, and it shakes deception. You carry peace, and it disrupts false stability. That's not a burden, it's your assignment. The enemy hopes you'll shrink back from this. He wants you to think something's wrong with you, that you're being too much, that your discernment is overactive. But what if the very thing you're calling too sensitive is actually your prophetic wiring? What if what others call intense is actually just awakened? You don't have to force anything. You don't need to explain your discernment to everyone. Not everyone is meant to understand your anointing. Sometimes your silence is your greatest weapon. Sometimes your walk does more than your words ever could. It is written in the book of Acts, chapter 5, verse 15. People brought the sick into the streets, laid them on beds and mats, so that Peter's shadow might fall on some of them. Think about that. Even his shadow carried power. Not because Peter was special, but because the presence he walked in was undeniable. You have that same spirit, that same power, that same unseen influence. Your presence shifts atmospheres because you walk with God, and the closer you walk with Him, the more weight your presence carries. This is why God has been so careful with your journey. This is why He's been pruning your character. Why He's been disciplining your mouth. Why He's allowed you to experience deep places of loneliness and silence. Because those who shift atmospheres must first be trusted with private altars. The authority you carry didn't come cheap. It was forged in hidden prayer, in quiet obedience. In the nights where you chose surrender over visibility. You're not walking in this presence accidentally. You've been entrusted with it. So don't doubt it. Don't dismiss it. Don't apologize for it. Walk into every space with the confidence that what you carry is holy, not arrogant, not superior, holy. And if you've been feeling misunderstood, if you've been sensing that people are reacting to you without cause, if rooms feel spiritually heavier when you enter, if your presence stirs what's buried, then this word is for you. Right now. Comment. Rooms respond now. End quote. Say it as a declaration, not for attention, but for alignment. Because when you walk into a place, the spiritual climate adjusts not because you're trying to be seen, but because heaven is seen through you. That phrase is your agreement with what God has already activated in you. When you type, "Rooms respond now," you're not just commenting, you're testifying, "I know who I am. I understand what I carry. I will no longer doubt the authority I bring. And more importantly, I will no longer shrink to make atmospheres comfortable." Let the room shift. Let hearts stir. Let darkness react. Let glory manifest. And when the atmosphere bends, don't back down. That's not intimidation. That's confirmation. You were born to confront, not to conform. You are not moving in your own strength. You are moving under divine law. There are spiritual laws that govern your life now, and you are no longer subject to the limitations of this world. What binds others can't bind you. What breaks others can't break you. You walk in kingdom authority, and that changes everything. You've been walking through places where others got stuck, and you kept going. You've overcome battles that should have taken you out, and you rose stronger. You've endured storms that left others bitter, and yet your heart is still soft, still burning. That's not luck. That's not personality. That's the favor of God operating through spiritual alignment. There are laws in the Spirit that respond to obedience. There is movement in the unseen realm that reacts to your surrender. When you say yes to God, even when it costs you, doors open. Chains fall. Assignments activate. You don't always see it, but heaven responds. Scripture says in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19, "I have given you authority. Nothing will harm you." That's not motivation. That's spiritual law. When you live surrendered, your life becomes magnetic for breakthrough. Not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. The enemy can't touch someone who stays in alignment. He may try to harass, delay, intimidate, but he cannot cancel what God has already decreed. That's why things that should have taken you out ended up pushing you deeper. That's why moments meant to humiliate you only purified your heart. Because you don't operate in the realm of natural cause and effect anymore. You move in supernatural flow. And what is unseen about your life carries more weight than what is visible. People will try to measure you by what they see on the outside, but they have no idea the laws that have been set in motion over your life. You're not lucky you're aligned. You're not just consistent, you're anointed. You're not just wise, you've been walking with the one who is wisdom. And this authority, it didn't come cheaply. It came through secret choices, through unseen sacrifices, through saying no to what others celebrated, through walking away from what looked good but wasn't God. You've chosen obedience in moments where compromise would have been easier, and heaven has taken note. There are angels assigned to obey the word of God spoken through your mouth. Did you know that? When you speak from a place of alignment, all of heaven leans in. That's why your words matter now more than ever. When you speak doubt, things delay. But when you speak by faith, things move. This is why the enemy tries to exhaust your spirit. If he can't stop your assignment, he'll try to disrupt your agreement. Because once you stop agreeing with God, the flow shifts. That's why you have to keep your atmosphere saturated with truth, with worship, with prayer, with people who remind you who you are when the world tries to shrink you. You're not begging God to bless you. You're walking in blessings that are following you. And the closer you stay to His heart, the more automatic that flow becomes. You don't chase favor. Favor finds you. And right now, if this word is feeding your spirit, pause and like this message. Someone else needs to hear it. But they won't unless you help amplify it. Share it with someone you know is walking through spiritual pressure but hasn't realized they're under spiritual law. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. This isn't entertainment. This is warfare. This is alignment. This is daily bread for a chosen generation. Don't scroll away from a space that feeds your fire. And yes, if this ministry has poured into you and you feel led to sow, don't hesitate. Your giving isn't just charity, it's agreement. Every seed you plant into the ground of this word helps extend its reach to other called ones, walking through dry places, desperate for a voice of clarity. But back to you. You have no idea how close you are to stepping into visible authority. What's been happening in secret is about to manifest. You've been moving in spiritual law. And soon, the results will be undeniable. People will look and ask, "How?" And your only answer will be, "God." Destiny. You didn't buy it. You didn't network your way into it. You didn't scheme or promote yourself. You obeyed. And obedience always activates heaven's momentum. You are not under the laws of fear, failure, or fate. You are under grace, glory, and divine government. You were born to walk in victory, not occasionally, but continually. So hold your ground. The system of this world will shake, but the kingdom you walk in cannot be moved. And everywhere you step, that kingdom steps with you. You were never meant to carry religion. You were called to carry glory. What Jesus walked in, he passed on not as an idea, not as theology, but as a living, transferable reality. The same spirit that hovered over the waters in Genesis, the same power that raised Christ from the grave, now dwells in you. And it's not dormant, it's waiting. The miracles of Jesus were not just to show what he could do, they were demonstrations of what his followers would one day walk in. You were never meant to admire the works of Christ from a distance. You were meant to continue them, to reflect them, to release them. You've read the stories. The blind see, the dead rise, the outcasts are embraced, the demons flee. But here's the part we forget. Jesus said, "Greater works will you do." That wasn't poetic exaggeration. That was a prophetic declaration, a transfer of heavenly expectation to earthly vessels. And you are one of them. You don't reflect Jesus just in your kindness. You reflect him in your authority. He calmed storms. He rebuked spirits. He spoke with a boldness that unsettled every comfortable system around him. When he walked into a space, things changed. That same nature has now taken residence in you, not to flatter your ego, but to fulfill your assignment, but to reflect his power. You must first believe it's possible. That's where many falter. They accept salvation, but stop short of demonstration. They believe in forgiveness, but reject the idea that their hands could heal. Their words could release captives. Their shadow could carry weight. Why? Because they look at their humanity and assume that's where the story ends. But Jesus chose humans to carry divinity, not because we're strong, but because we're yielded. When he ascended, he didn't say, "Go build churches." He said, "Go make disciples." He didn't say, "Just talk about me." He said, "Baptize, heal, cast out, preach the kingdom." And to fulfill that kind of commission, you need more than just motivation. You need power. That power was never meant to be locked in a building or reserved for a platform. It was meant to be reflected through people like you in grocery stores, in boardrooms, in broken homes, in crowded streets. You are a walking embassy of heaven, a mobile sanctuary, a moving mirror of the King. So why does it feel like you're still waiting? Because there's a war over your reflection. The enemy doesn't fear church attendance. He fears activation. He fears that you'll realize you carry something more than good intentions, that you carry the very Spirit of God inside your frame. The spiritual battles you faced weren't to destroy you, they were to delay you. Because if he can delay your belief, he can delay your demonstration. And if he delays your demonstration, those assigned to your voice remain bound. You've been marked not just for personal breakthrough, but for regional impact. There are places your feet must go. There are people your voice must reach. There are chains that will only break when you walk into the room because God chose you for that moment. It's not pride to believe this. It's obedience. When Jesus walked the earth, he didn't make people guess who he was. He showed them. And now, through you, he's still doing that. When you walk in peace during chaos, that's him. When you intercede for strangers without explanation, that's him. When you pray and atmospheres shift, that's him. When you sense things before they happen, or war in silence for someone's freedom, or release hope in places drowning in despair, that is him, still walking the earth through you. We find in the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 12, "Whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these." Lone, it's not optional. It's promised. And it's time you start living like it's true. This isn't about performance. It's about posture, not about titles, about trust. Will you allow him to flow through you without resistance? Will you stop disqualifying yourself based on your past? Will you stop waiting for someone to give you permission to walk in what heaven already confirmed? The mantle is already resting on you. The glory is already stirring. You don't need more proof, you need more surrender. Because when you finally accept that Jesus passed the torch to you, you won't just reflect him, you'll reveal him. And when he is revealed through you, darkness doesn't get to stay. If only you could see what the enemy sees when he looks at you. He doesn't see someone weak or confused. He sees someone dangerous because you are on the verge of becoming fully aware of who you are in Christ. And once you step into that awareness, there is no going back. You've been walking with a mirror that's been fogged by fear, trauma, and delay. But now God is clearing the glass. You're about to see clearly. And what you'll see is not just potential, it's power. The enemy has done everything possible to keep you distracted, discouraged, and doubting. Because the moment you realize what lives inside of you, the war turns. You don't reflect weakness, you reflect victory. You don't carry confusion, you carry answers. You don't echo the culture, you echo eternity. The more you align with heaven's truth, the more your life becomes a threat to every false structure around you. The enemy doesn't fear your past. He fears your awakening. That's why your identity has been under attack. That's why your voice has been fought. That's why the enemy stirred rejection, shame, and false guilt around your story, because he knew if you ever really believed what God said about you, he wouldn't be able to silence you again. You've been wrestling with thoughts that aren't even yours. Lee's like, you're not ready. Oh, you missed it. Oh, you've failed too many times. Oh, but heaven says otherwise. Heaven calls you chosen, anointed, appointed, and sent. And not just sent randomly, sent into this exact time in history to be a reflection of truth when the world is drowning in deception. You were not born in this generation by accident. God planted you here because He knew the darkness you'd face and the light you would carry into it. That light is not fragile. It's not unsure. It's not flickering. It's steady, weighty, revealing. You carry the same spirit that hovered over the chaos in Genesis. And just like then, the light in you speaks order into confusion, healing into brokenness, clarity into fog. But here's the truth. Light doesn't get to hide anymore. You're being summoned into full visibility. Not because of ego, not because of hype, but because heaven has need of you. The days of waiting for someone else to step up are over. This is your release. This is your charge. This is your confirmation. You are not fragile glass. You are a mirror of glory. We find in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." End of Clee. That glory isn't just touching you, it's rising within you. You are not just marked, you are ignited. The pressure you felt lately, it wasn't just warfare. It was the womb stretching open. It was spiritual labor. It was the sound of birthing. You're not breaking down, you're breaking forth. And if everything in your life feels like it's been pressing in, surrounding you, pushing you to the edge, it's because the enemy knows he can't stop you once the mirror is fully revealed. You've been asking for a sign. This is your sign. No more sitting on your calling. No more playing small. No more apologizing for the fire God placed in you. You've been given power, not to boast, but to break chains. Not to look spiritual, but to set people free. Not to hide behind scripture, but to live it. You are not late. You are not early. You are right on time. Now it's time to agree with heaven. Say yes with your life. Say yes with your voice. Say yes with your posture. And make a prophetic declaration right now. Comment the number 717 below. This isn't random, it's prophetic. 7 for the glory, 1 for the release, and 7 again for the fulfillment. When you comment 717, you're declaring, I accept the assignment. None. I reflect Him without apology. None. My season of hiding is over. None. This is more than a moment. This is agreement. And heaven is watching for your response. So, go ahead. Let the silence break. Let the mirror shine. Let the glory rise. And let darkness make room, because you're not shrinking anymore. You've hidden long enough. You've played safe long enough. This is your hour to emerge, not as a copy of culture, but as a mirror of Christ. Let every delay become fuel. Let every wound become oil. You are not stepping out timid, you're stepping out crowned. You've tried to dim it, but it won't stay hidden. The light inside you, His glory, was never designed to remain underground. It was destined to be revealed. There is a moment in every chosen one's journey when the hiding ends. The stretching gives way to sending, and the glory begins to radiate in full. And that moment is now approaching. You've gone through your hidden season. You've endured the pruning, the pressing, the silence. You've obeyed when no one was watching. You've said yes when you were exhausted. And you've stayed when it would have been easier to walk away. What you didn't know is that heaven was using every step to polish your mirror, because glory cannot be poured out on a vessel that refuses refinement. Reflection is not just a spiritual gift, it's a weight. It requires surrender, discipline, and deep cleansing. The process has been painful, but it was never punishment. It was preparation. And now, the preparation is giving way to revelation. You're not going to have to force the glory to show. It's going to reveal itself. It's going to rise up from within, like something long held, finally being released. You've been carrying it all along, but now it's ready to be seen. And when it happens, it won't be subtle. When Moses came down from the mountain, he didn't realize his face was glowing. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He had simply been with God. His reflection was the result of proximity, not performance. That's your story too. What's about to show in your life is not the result of you striving harder. It's the harvest of your surrender. You didn't chase visibility. You didn't seek the spotlight. But the time of unveiling has come, not so you can be glorified, but so that he can be revealed through you in undeniable ways. And that revealing will carry weight. People will begin to ask you questions they never asked before. Some will be drawn to you. Others will resist you. Your name will start entering rooms you've never stepped into. Doors will open without explanation. And you must remember this. It's not about you. It's about the one you reflect. The temptation in the season of visibility is to perform instead of reflect, to try and keep the glow by your own strength. But you don't need to fabricate anything. The glory is authentic. Let it flow naturally. Let your nearness to God remain your source. Don't let visibility cost you intimacy. It is written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 7. But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. Henry, you are the jar. He is the treasure. And the cracks in your life, the places where you once saw shame, will be the very places where light shines through the strongest. So when he begins to elevate you, don't pretend you have it all together. Let your weakness speak. Let your scars bear witness to his healing. Let your transparency reveal that you are not the source, just the mirror. You are not called to be flawless. You are called to be faithful. And faithfulness shines. Obedience glows. Surrender radiates. That's the glory the world needs to see. Not perfection, but transformation. And as this glory rises, it will draw attention. And with attention comes responsibility. You will be asked to carry things you've never carried. Speak when you'd rather stay silent. Stand firm when others fall away. But remember, you've been prepared for this. You are not stepping into something new, you are stepping into something unveiled. The oil on your life will no longer be hidden. The fragrance of your obedience will begin to spread. People who mocked you in the quiet will wonder how you got here. But you'll know, it wasn't strategy. It wasn't hustle. It was God. He has chosen this moment to reveal what he's been building inside you all along. So don't fear the light. Don't run from the attention. Don't deny what's rising. This isn't hype. It's harvest. Everything you lost is about to make sense. Everything that broke you is about to testify. The very places where you were overlooked will become the places where you are revealed. The wait wasn't wasted. The silence wasn't empty. The darkness wasn't punishment. It was all part of the preparation for glory. And now, the world is about to see what heaven always knew. You've been asking, when will I be ready? But the better question is, When will you realize you already are? You've been waiting for permission from people God never asked. Waiting for qualifications the Spirit already confirmed. Waiting for a moment that's already begun. You don't need another sign. You don't need more confirmation. What you need is revelation of what's already been deposited in you. Because the truth is this: it's already in you. Everything you've been asking God for: strength, clarity, courage, power has already been placed within you. It's not coming from the outside. It's awakening from the inside. You're not waiting on heaven. Heaven is waiting on your alignment. There comes a time when prayers shift from "Lord, send it" to "Lord, release it." And that time is now. You've been taught to ask as if you're empty, but you're not. You're full. The oil is there. The fire is there. The authority is there. The boldness is there. What's missing is agreement. The enemy's greatest tactic isn't to rob you, it's to convince you you're empty. Because if you believe you have nothing, you won't even try to use what you carry. You'll play small. You'll wait. You'll hide. And heaven's plan through your life will sit dormant. Not because you weren't ready, but because you didn't believe you were. You've prayed for open doors. But God is saying, you are the door. You've asked Him to move. And He's saying, move through what I've already put in you. You are not a vessel waiting to be filled. You are a vessel being called to be poured out. The stirring you feel in your spirit isn't frustration, it's activation. The things that once satisfied you no longer do. The circles that used to fit now feel too small. That's not arrogance. That's a sign that the deposit in you has outgrown the space you've been living in. You can't shrink into this next season. You have to stretch. The mantle over your life is demanding more from you, not because you lack, but because you've been equipped. It is written in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verse 14. Guard the good deposit that was entrusted to you. Guard it with the help of the Holy Spirit who lives in us. And notice the language, not wait for, not chase after God. That means it's already there, already yours, already entrusted. It needs protection, not pursuit. You've been dreaming big, but living small, speaking bold, but walking cautious. You hear words like called, chosen, anointed, and you nod, but deep down, you still see yourself as average. That mindset must break now, because the world won't change through people who believe halfway. It changes through those who know who they are in Christ and walk accordingly. No more rehearsing insecurity. No more disqualifying yourself for what God already approved. You've been given the green light. Now take the step. Stop waiting to feel ready. Boldness doesn't come before obedience. It follows it. Clarity doesn't always come in the beginning. It increases as you move. You keep waiting for the fear to leave. But faith isn't the absence of fear. It's movement in spite of it. And the longer you delay, the more people stay bound. Because what's inside you is not just for you. It's for generations. Your testimony is a key. Your breakthrough is a map. Your voice is a rescue signal for someone else's wilderness. This is the season where excuses expire, where delays get replaced with decisions, where your gifts are no longer wrapped in waiting, but released in full trust. You have everything you need. The capacity, it's in you. The strategy, it's in you. The voice, it's in you. The anointing, it's in you. The answer to someone else's deliverance, it's already in you. God's not going to send it down from the clouds. He already sent it. He sent himself, and he lives in you. So the next time you pray, don't ask for something external. Ask God to reveal and release what's already within, and then act like it's true. Live like you're full. Walk like you're equipped. Speak like you carry power. Love like your presence matters. Move like heaven backs you, because it does. You've been looking for the switch, but you are the switch. When you finally flip that internal agreement from maybe someday to it's already here, the reflection of Christ in you will no longer be subtle. It will be undeniable, because you've been filled. You've been refined. You've been equipped. Now it's time to release what's already in you. There is something powerful about your yes. It's not just a word, it's a shift in the spirit. Every time you say yes to God, something breaks in the atmosphere. Resistance weakens. Fear loses ground. Angels are released. Chain loosen. The moment your heart agrees with heaven, eternity moves. You've said yes before. Quietly, privately, through tears, through uncertainty. Sometimes your yes came while trembling. Sometimes it came while you were still healing. But it came, and that yes has kept you aligned even when everything in your life felt out of place. But now this next yes, it carries more weight. Because this one will cost visibility. This one will require boldness. This one isn't just personal, it's generational. Your yes is not just about your breakthrough. It's about the people attached to your obedience. Souls, assignments, regions, families waiting for someone to say, yes, I'll carry it. Look, the enemy fears that yes. That's why you've felt the pressure increase. That's why the voices of doubt have gotten louder. That's why the warfare has felt more specific lately. Because you're not just saying yes to surviving, you're saying yes to releasing glory. And glory disrupts darkness. This isn't about hype. It's about legacy. You're not called to impress anyone. You're called to impact everything. And the greatest shift begins not when you shout louder, but when your obedience goes deeper. Your yes is your weapon. Your surrender is your sword. It is written in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 19, through the obedience of the one man, the many will be made righteous. Your obedience carries ripple effects. Your agreement with heaven has consequences far beyond what you see. You think you're just saying yes to an assignment, but you're actually saying yes to a harvest. Your decision will echo in people you haven't even met yet. So don't treat your obedience like a small thing. It is sacred. It is divine. It is God's chosen method of multiplication on the earth. You're not too late. You're not too far behind. In fact, this is the moment you've been prepared for. And now you're standing at the edge of it. A spiritual threshold. You're not just stepping forward, you're stepping through. And when you cross this line, you can't go back to ordinary. You can't go back to hiding. You can't go back to shrinking just to make others feel safe. Because your yes today is unlocking someone else's freedom tomorrow. So if this message is stirring something in you, don't ignore it. Like this message right now, if it's confirming what your spirit already knows. Sometimes the smallest act of agreement is all it takes to break spiritual hesitation. Share this with someone else who's been fighting the same battle in silence. You don't know who needs this word, but God does. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, not for content, but for alignment, we are building something together. a generation that doesn't perform for attention but carries presence. And if this word has poured strength into your spirit, consider sowing into it. Your seed becomes a lifeline for another weary soul we haven't even reached yet. But back to you, because this moment is sacred. You've been wrestling, haven't you? Wondering if you're ready, questioning if it's really your time. But let me ask you something. Why would God stir you this deeply if He wasn't about to use you radically? Why would the enemy fight this hard unless you were on the edge of something world-shaking? You don't need to feel brave. You just need to be willing. God doesn't ask for perfection. He asks for surrender. And if you can give Him that, He will take your small yes and breathe into it until it becomes a move of God in your generation. This is your time, not because everything around you says so, but because everything in you does. You feel the fire again. You feel the pull. You sense the urgency. That's not pressure. That's purpose, rising. So, give God a full yes. Not a conditional one. Not a delayed one. Not a silent maybe. Give Him the kind of yes that changes the direction of everything. The kind that tells heaven, I'm done waiting for perfect. I choose obedience now. And here's what I want you to do. Comment below and write, my yes is ready. Let that be your public declaration. Let it seal what heaven is doing inside you. You're not typing words, you're unlocking alignment. And as you type, let that be the first act of your yes. The first ripple, the first spark. Because once your yes goes out, nothing can stop what heaven already started. You are not just agreeing, you are advancing. And your yes is the key. You've carried this fire quietly for a long time, hidden behind ordinary routines, surrounded by people who couldn't see it, in environments that couldn't hold it. But that fire never died. It flickered in seasons of silence. It smoldered beneath pressure, and now it's starting to roar. You weren't just chosen to reflect Jesus. You were chosen to carry Him, to be a living vessel, an earthly dwelling for eternal power. And what's inside you isn't weak. It's holy. It's disruptive. It's confrontational to darkness. You don't carry a personality trait. You carry presence. You may not feel it every day, but the spirit world recognizes it. That's why the warfare has been strategic. Not just external pressure, but internal resistance. The enemy can't remove your calling, so he tries to convince you you're unworthy of it. He can't steal your light, so he tries to bury it under insecurity, shame, distraction, and exhaustion. But here you are, still burning, still surrendered, still pressing into God when others pulled away. You didn't survive for survival's sake. You survived because glory is scheduled to pour through your life, and hell couldn't stop it. You are not just marked, you are crowned with fire. This is not symbolic language. It's spiritual reality. The flame that rested on the heads of those in the upper room wasn't temporary. It was a sign that heaven had found a new dwelling place, not just in buildings, but in people. That same fire rests on you. It may not be visible to natural eyes, but it's real. Angels see it. Demons flee from it. Environments shift around it. And it's time you walk like someone who is carrying more than memory. You are carrying movement. You've prayed for revival, but revival doesn't float down from the clouds. It ignites in yielded people. Fire falls on sacrifice. Glory rests where surrender lives. You are the altar now. You are the lampstand. You are the temple. The fire isn't coming to you. It's coming through you. That's why compromise no longer sits well with you. Why silence feels like disobedience. Why lukewarm options make you nauseous. You were born for something higher, set apart for something heavier. And fire cannot dwell where casual devotion rules. It is written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 29. For our God is a consuming fire. And he didn't call you just to visit the flame, he called you to carry it. That fire is not just meant to comfort you, it's meant to transform you, refine you, empower you, mark you. You were not saved to be safe. You were saved to be set on fire. Not wild emotion, not shallow hype, real fire. The kind that makes you love people who wronged you. The kind that causes you to speak when silence would be more convenient. The kind that prays when no one sees. The kind that burns away compromise and awakens the dead. This kind of fire isn't taught. It's transferred. It's imparted in prayer. It grows in obedience. It explodes through brokenness. It doesn't wait for stage or spotlight. It consumes the hallway, the grocery store, the workplace, the kitchen floor. It doesn't check for applause. It checks for availability. And you've been made available. That's why you've been so uncomfortable in this season. You're feeling the stretching of a soul that was never meant to be average. You've tried to fit in. But heaven won't let you. You've tried to settle. But the fire keeps pushing. That fire is your assignment. You won't look like everyone else. You won't sound like everyone else. You'll carry truth when others carry trend. You'll feel deeply what others ignore. You'll weep over what others joke about. You'll stand in places others flee. Because you are not just a follower, you are a carrier. The fire you carry is not random. It's generational. You've been marked to break cycles, to shift atmospheres, to uproot false comfort and release holy conviction. You weren't sent to keep the peace. You were sent to reveal the kingdom. And now, the time is drawing near. What was once burning in the background is moving to the forefront. God is not hiding you anymore. He is highlighting what He's refined. And when the world begins to see it, don't shrink. This is not pride. This is prophecy fulfilled. You don't need to defend the fire. Just burn. Don't explain it. Don't apologize for it. Don't tone it down to keep shallow company. Burn until every room you walk into catches the edge of eternity. Burn until your obedience sets others free. Burn until the King is seen in your life without needing a single word. You are not fragile. You are flammable. And it's time the world sees what heaven has always known. You were crowned with fire for such a time as this. There's a reason you've never fit in. A reason you've always felt the weight of things others ignored. A reason your spirit was stirred when others stayed silent. You were never meant to blend in. You were born to stand apart, to be set aside, set apart, set ablaze. You've always been different, but not for difference's sake. You were wired for deeper things. You carried a knowing that couldn't be explained, a pull that wouldn't go away. Even when you tried to mute it, ignore it, bury it beneath normal life, it remained. That was the mark. That was the call. That was the evidence that heaven had placed something within you. You weren't the loudest, but you carried weight. You weren't always seen, but you disrupted atmospheres. You weren't perfect, but your hunger for God never stopped growing. And now, all of heaven is pointing to this moment and saying, they're ready. No, because this is what it's always been leading to. The hidden seasons, the spiritual pruning, the crushing, the stretching, the unlearning. God hasn't just been preparing a life for you, He's been preparing you for a life that carries His reflection into dark places, a life that walks in power, not explanation, a life that releases hope where religion fell silent. You are not here by algorithm or accident. You've been summoned, sent. You are a sent one, not self-appointed, not man-elevated, but God-commissioned. That commission comes with weight, but it also comes with backing. You don't walk into rooms alone. The King walks with you, and where He walks, everything shifts. This is more than inspiration. This is activation. You were not called just to consume revelation, but to carry it, not to admire the fire, but to release it, not to survive culture, but to transform it. Your life is the sermon. Your presence is the assignment. You are the confirmation others have been waiting for. And yes, it will cost you. You might lose comfort. You might lose people. You may lose the ease of being misunderstood. But what you gain is far greater: clarity, authority, intimacy with God, and the honor of walking as a vessel in a generation desperate for truth. You were never meant to be a spectator. You were never designed for the sidelines. From the moment God breathed you into time, the battle lines were drawn, not because you are weak, but because you are necessary. Your voice, your life, your fire, it all carries purpose. It is written in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." And that appointment wasn't rescinded. It wasn't delayed. It didn't skip you. You are not the leftover. You are the assignment. And now, more than ever, the world needs what you carry, not watered down, not sanitized, not buried, but released. Your story matters. Your scars matter. Your silence breaking matters. The pressure you've endured has produced oil that religion couldn't manufacture. You are not here to echo what's been said. You are here to reveal what's been missing. You are the torchbearer, the intercessor, the voice crying in the wilderness. You are the one who refused to quit, even when it felt like quitting was the only option. And now, after all the hiddenness, after all the tears, after all the crushing, you rise. You rise in quiet authority. You rise with scars that shine. You rise with vision that cannot be shaken. You rise with a hunger that no platform can satisfy. You rise not to take a place, but to take your place. And when you rise, others rise too. This is what the enemy was trying to prevent. This is what the wilderness was sent to delay. This is what the distractions were designed to cloud. Because when you fully step into your assignment, things break open, not just for you, but for entire bloodlines. You are a breaker, a builder, a mirror of the King. Your life will not echo culture, it will disturb it. Your presence will not settle in safely, it will provoke divine confrontation. Wherever you go, the kingdom follows. Whatever you touch, the anointing flows. You are not arriving late. You are stepping in right on time. History doesn't remember the most talented. It remembers the ones who said yes when it cost them everything. And you said yes. So go forward, not begging, not explaining, not shrinking, but walking in the full confidence of one who reflects glory, not for applause, not for credit, but because heaven has spoken, I have chosen you. Oh, if this word reached you, don't scroll past it. Stop and recognize what just happened. Heaven spoke, and your spirit responded. That's not just a feeling. That's alignment. That's evidence that you're not lost, not forgotten, not wandering. You're positioned. You're called. And now, you're activated. But don't keep this to yourself. If this message ignited something inside you, like it now. That one small act is a prophetic agreement. Yes, Lord, I receive it. And if you know someone else walking through the fire, carrying a silent weight, share this with them. You never know, your obedience could be the moment their awakening begins. Comment below, I reflect his fire. Let the whole atmosphere know where you stand. Not in fear, not in hiding, but in holy reflection. That comment becomes your declaration. I carry him. I won't dim him. I choose the weight of glory over the ease of comfort. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, this isn't just content. It's a lifeline, a place where the chosen find confirmation, strength, and direction for the days ahead. Stay connected to the flow. And yes, if this word ministered to you deeply and you feel led to sow, do it boldly, not out of pressure, but out of faith. You're not giving to a screen, you're planting into fertile, prophetic ground. Every seed pushes this word further, reaching more chosen ones, hungry for truth in a world full of noise. You were never meant to reflect culture. You were meant to reflect him. And now the mirror is clear. Shine. Chosen one. The time is now.